Hey guys, welcome to EV Guy Canada. I am the EV Guy. This is my Tesla. So I haven't made a video in a long time, and I've got a couple in the editing bay that I'm going to post or plan on posting soon. But I thought I would do this video real quick while it's just happened. I'm sitting here at the independent grocery store in Perth, Ontario, and I just had a major confrontation with somebody who iced one of the Tesla charging stalls here. And I'm not doing this to promote that kind of behavior. I'm actually trying to do the opposite. I allowed myself to become emotionally charged in this conversation. So the truck that pulled up was a blue F-150 with two flags, big flags hanging out of the back. One, Trudeau, which, you know, doesn't matter whether I agree or disagree with your politics. I fully support your right to express your political views. That I have no problem with. All right, sorry about that. My wife called, picking up now a few minutes later. So back where I was talking about the flags in the truck, so the political views, the Trudeau stuff, like I said, I have no problem. That is what it is. You have every right in the world to express your political opinions. At least that is my point of view. Agree or disagree, that's fine. But he also was flying a Confederate flag. Now this is, as again, I said I'm in Perth, Ontario. Confederate flag has nothing to do with Canada. There is no relationship to Canadian history. It is 100% under the U.S. history from the Civil War. So he was flying that flag, and they decided to park the truck in front of a Tesla Charger in the Tesla stall. So they iced it with a big F-150 with the Trudeau flag, with the Confederate flag. I mean, extremely provocational. I don't, have a really hard time convincing me otherwise, and that is definitely the way I felt. I felt, quite provoked, and so we had parked the car, walked over to Tim Hortons, got a coffee. We were walking back to the grocery store when they parked, and they were walking in. So I called them out. It was a guy and his friend, and I called them out. I said, "Go move your truck," and he refused to. And I told him that there was a sign there that this is supposed to be for electric vehicles only, and you're not supposed to park there. He goes, "Well, I don't care. I'm just doing it anyway." And I said, "You're being provocational. I don't appreciate what you're trying to do. You're trying to upset people, and frankly, it's worked on me." And he goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "I'm talking about your flags, and the fact that you decide to fly those flags and then turn and park in electric vehicle spot. You're making a statement." And he goes, "Oh, I'm not, because I just don't want my truck to be dinged. And that's why I'm deciding to park there." And, obviously I called him out and told him, "Well, I don't believe that for a second." And then he challenged me as to, and this conversation was elevated, not calm like I am right now. And he said, "You don't even know what the Confederate flag is about." And I said, "Really? How do you know that? How do you know what I know?" And he goes, "You think it has to do with racism and slavery." I said, "Well, actually, that flag was, as I've already said, part of it was the flag from the South during the American Civil War." He goes, "Oh, well, most people don't know that." I said, "No, you believe most people don't know that." I said, "But today, there is no Confederate army anymore. And that Confederate army fought in part, along with other things, but in part to protect the ability to enslave people. And that was part of the Civil War, right? And so that flag symbolizes an army that fought to protect the right to enslave people. That is why today it is associated with slavery. That's my point of view. You can agree with me, disagree with me, whatever, right?" And I told him that. I said, "But that is my point of view. That is the common perception. And when you decide to fly an American Confederate flag in Canada, that is what you're provoking. And you know it, and you're playing dumb that you have no idea that it's just a Southern flag. And we went in circles a lot, a lot of back and forth, quite heated. And eventually my daughter, who was here, commented that it was a bylaw, which in fact it turns out it is not, to not park there. So I said, well, go call bylaw then. So my daughter went and grabbed my phone, and she called the bylaw office and or phone number, and they said it's actually not a bylaw, it's private property. So you can go talk to the store owners and they can request that they move it. So that while that was all happening behind the scenes, we had sort of come to kind of wrap up the conversation, and he had a hard time walking away and leaving it alone. And then he asked me, well, why do you drive that car? And this is where it got kind of interesting. And I said, look, can we, now that we had brought the conversation from way up here to, down about here, I said, can we push our differences aside, agree that we disagree? And I said, and I will apologize to you for being as heated as I've been. I said, I definitely let my emotions get further away from me than they should have. And I said, I would like to actually apologize for that. And he did the same. And so that was very good, right? We went from potentially, a very heated situation that could easily end up in a physical confrontation. Instead, we did manage to bring it down. And then we had actually a fairly decent conversation. And I told him, look, I don't have a problem with your F-150. I had an F-150 before I bought this Tesla. I loved that truck, right? I didn't love that it was not great for the environment, but I loved that it was made from aluminum, which made a lighter body, which made it more fuel efficient. They've done all kinds of stuff to try to make them more fuel efficient. I liked that about them. I have the choice to drive a Tesla today, and that's what I choose to do. But I don't have a problem with people who drive gas vehicles. We're not there yet. Not everybody can drive an electric vehicle yet. And I recognize that. And I don't judge people for driving a gas vehicle. If you're watching this, you may agree with me, maybe disagree with me. It doesn't really matter. But that's my point of view. And I told him that. I said, I don't care. I said, I quite like your truck. I said, but I don't like what you're doing with it. He asked me, why do you drive that? Because it's actually worse for the environment than my truck. And I know exactly where he's coming from. And he's like, they mine these huge pits to get all of the minerals and stuff that they need for the batteries. I don't believe he said minerals, but he said to make the batteries. And then they're driving diesel machines around while they're doing all that mining, and they're using huge amounts of power when they're making the cars, and it's worse than a gas engine car. And I said, you know what? You're actually right? I know that, at least I understand and believe that when my car was finished being made, that it had a bigger carbon footprint, a worse impact on the environment than the average similar gas vehicle. I said, so at that point in their lives, I explained to them, I agree with you, it's not as good for the environment. I said, but over the life of the vehicle is where the environmental difference is. And where we live in Ontario, I believe it's over 90%. I think it's 97, but I'm very confident to say 90% of the the electric power, we call it hydro here. So of the power that we generate, electric power, is non-emitting. It's carbon free, right? I said, so when you're using and driving an electric car in Ontario, you are putting very, very little emissions back into the environment. And when I'm driving around, I'm not putting a bunch of carbon dioxide down people's throats as I drive by them, right? That's the reality. So to me, those are the two big things. I said, so there is a big difference. If you're driving in Virginia, where they're using predominantly coal for the energy to power the electricity, you might have an argument, right? The life of an electric vehicle, when you're powering it with coal, might not be so good, right? I said, but the other part of it is, I'm a nerd. I love the technology. It tweaks, it hits all of the things for me. I've got the beta version of self-driving software. I love being part of that. I love the way it drives, the power, the acceleration. So those are all the reasons that I drive a Tesla. Plus, it actually is better ultimately for the environment. I said, but that's only one thing. It's not everything. Anyway, I actually didn't intend to make all those arguments during this video. The point of this video really was to say that, I think I got lucky, right? I got lucky in the fact that it didn't turn worse, that the argument didn't get physical, that I was able to reason with this guy to some degree, and we literally shook hands at the end of the day, and he moved his truck. But it didn't. The odds of it ending up that way, I think, are not as good as the odds of it getting worse. And I really, even though I'm kind of glad I educated the guy to some degree, given that situation again, I think I will just go into the store, talk to the store manager, and ask them to have someone remove the vehicle, have it towed, talk to the owner, whatever. But I don't recommend doing what I did, right? Our world is too divided. Sorry, I'm getting emotional now. We can't afford to hate each other. We need to come together. We need to stop and think about everybody else's point of view, and have more time for them, and be more patient even when we totally disagree. It's okay to disagree. People who think differently than us are not our enemies. He kept saying, I haven't done anything to you. And he was right. I didn't feel that way. I felt angry. I felt provoked. Somewhat enraged. And that's not right. Right? I need to do better. We all need to do better. And we need to be much more tolerant of each other. And when someone decides to wave a flag that represents something you don't agree with, then we need to learn to deal with it in a civil manner. Probably not address the situation when it can be a heated confrontation. And so going forward, that's going to be my approach. I'm going to try real hard to be more level-headed and not quite as emotional. So that's my daughter's here, so I'm going to wrap this up. But yeah, so if anything's taken from this, try to be more patient than I am, or I was, and I'll try to be more patient going forward. Thanks, YouTube.